Well, this is the edge of something, the cutting edge or whatever. America in reverse. America was founded largely on people who were in debtor's prison by a large number of the early visitors from Europe to America, especially in England, were kicked out of the country and sent to that no man's land called, we don't know what to call it yet. And they ended up being let free of the debtor's prison. If you didn't pay this or you didn't pay that, or if you owed this or you owed that, you worked for the company store, you were in debtors. They kept you in jail and you couldn't pay your way out. It had somebody to buy you out. We've come to all these years of this wonderful, monstrous so-called democracy, and we're right back to debtor's prison again. And what are they? They're where you don't have money for bail. Constitution, I forget what the 14th Amendment, whatever it is, you're not supposed to have unusual punishment. You're not supposed to have this, that, and the all is in the Constitution, and it's all violated. You get charged, you don't have the money for bail. It does for some people. It doesn't matter what. They can go month after month after month waiting for a judge to hear them, and they've got so many people stuck in these bail unpaid situations that it amounts to debtor's prison. So what we're doing
Can I be a
now
witness
is what?
to that?
Excuse me.
Can I be a witness to that? Augie, this is Alex. This is Alex, from Solis Uncovered. Can I be a witness to what you're saying?
Of course you can. I thought you were asking. Thought you were going to. If you want to say something, just go ahead and say something, Alex.
Yeah, I just want to back Augie up real quick. For one, when I'm sitting I've been arrested a couple times for marijuana, and a couple I've been arrested for a couple arguments with my kid's mother, and I can tell you, I sit in the bail room, and you go there every morning, 1 p.m. So every jail is different. You will see homeless people sit there for $100 bond that they can't pay, and they'll sit there for 2 months until they see the judge for an open beer. And for someone to pay 60 days of their life for drinking a beer on the side of the road, that's incredible.
Well, what's incredible, we can go through a litany of circumstances that involve bail. And if you have a job and you make just enough to get by, to pay rent, to pay your utilities, and then you get picked up for running a stop sign with your car, and you get pulled over, and the cop decides to take you in for he didn't like your attitude. They have a lot of power, the police, and they can get you in jail if they choose to. If some of them are really corrupt, they can plant drugs on you. Next thing you know, you're in jail.
Can I say one thing real quick? Let me if a cop every 30 days, a cop has to in the quota, a cop has to arrest one person. If not, they're in trouble.
Well, we're off track, Alex.
But the thing is, no, it's on track. If let's say you ran a stop sign, that's just a ticket. But the cop has a right to arrest you, and if the cop's on their 29th day and they have no arrest and they caught you running that stoplight, guess what? They're gonna arrest you for it, even though it's silly. It doesn't even make sense. It just saves the cop
without
fast.
arguing for and against yourself. I'm not going to do that. I'm not even disagreeing with you, and I think that's with the power the police have today. What you're saying is entirely almost likely, but the larger issue is it costs in these county jails roughly $100 a day to keep them going with bodies. And the main jail over here in Sarasota County holds about 1,100 people. And when they don't have those beds filled, which are contracted beds, they have to pay money for the bed not being used to the contractor. And so that money comes out of the contractor from the sheriff's budget. If he has to pay money out of his budget for beds unfilled, what's he going to tell the police? Pick up somebody and fill the bed, county, city, whatever. So that's off the track of the bail issue in one way. It's an example of how far we've gone into so many directions. Coming back to the main point, when you get charged and the bail is something you cannot afford, you're waiting for trial, which can take 2 months, 4 months, all these days you're sitting in jail, and the cost of the county is still $100 a day to keep you there. All these people, 1,000 people, 1,100, whatever it is in Sarasota County, whatever it is in Manatee County, probably a similar number. All over the country, this kind of thing is going on. And bail and the prosecutors, it's in their business to get you to confess to something to justify keeping the jail full with people that can admit to something or getting a fine. And then you have to be able to pay the fine, or you have to go to probation. All these different things. The probation is another example. You violate probation. How do you do that? You get mad at your wife, you get in a fight, she calls the cops, she violates you, she throws you right back in jail. You've done nothing more than have a family argument. But the system is designed to fill up the jails. And where did this get out of hand? The guy that made this problem worse, the first guy was Nixon, who started arresting people federally. This is the important thing, federally. Once the federal laws went into place, the state laws started conforming to do what the federal law does, because the federal law has the last word on sentencing very often in the way the laws are written. So 2, it was jailing people who sold. That was under Nixon. And the population in the prisons at the time of Nixon, when he left office, was around, not that many in the federal prisons, that is, a couple 100,000. Here comes along Ronnie Rectum. Ronald Reagan decides to have everybody jailed. If you touch a drug, you're guilty. And his wife said, just say no, honey. Don't use drugs and you'll stay out of jail. No, that's not enough. You touch the drugs in any way, sniff it, whatever it is, and you go to jail too. So the population of the jail federally, nationally, went from 250,000 or so to 2.5 million. Largely under Reagan and forward, from Reagan forward. Reagan, to my mind, is probably singly the smilingest, worst president we've ever had for lots of reasons. And that's a really big one. So now we're at a point, years and years later, from Nixon forward, which is now we're looking at, from Reagan forward, from 1980 to the present. That's 40 years, 40 plus years. How do we get out of this mess? And what you said, Alex, earlier, end the drug war, which is what I think it does come down to that. How did FDR do it in the days of alcohol prohibition? Beer, wine, hard liquor, what? They simply said, and he did it. He did an executive order, basically, and ended the drug war, the alcohol war. So we've done it. It could be done again. It has to be done again, almost like that. Getting into
How? That's the question. How do we stop the drug war?
Alex, maybe
But
you
through legislation. Through legislation.
No, not legislation. No, you didn't hear what I said. You make an executive order as president, and then the Congress will conform with their legislation. That's how you do it.
What's the executive order?
All drugs are legal, and I recommend that you get your drugs freely at your local hospital, no cost to you. I'm proposing this legislation for the Congress to get on board with. End of story.
We have something in New York City right now. That's a huge movement. People, organizations are renting out big spaces and buildings, and they're inviting addicts to come shoot up there. Please shoot up there. They're begging you. Hey, we'll help you. We'll give you the needle and we'll do it for you. They've had 70% of their people that went there overdosed and survived.
Alex,
that's an incredible number.
Alex,
incredible number.
That's interesting, Alex. It's just that it just continues what we've already got, and it's a
Nobody
state.
died there though. Let's just say that they didn't sell the drug or provide the drug. They just help
Well, you're
administer it.
looking, but you're making a point around possible ways of making this thing work without
This
getting
is
down.
I don't
So,
agree with this. I don't agree with this. I'm just saying this is what's going on in New York City right now, and it's a big, big topic that New York City is facing
but
right
it's a
now. Should these places exist?
the problem is you're talking about a state operating a certain way. State laws do all variety of things, and when you have every state doing things one way or another all over the map, there's no uniformity. The federal law is ultimately what supports this.
I
You
agree.
get
I
rid.
agree. But do you agree? Do you agree with these people? These organizations are doing?
I beg your pardon. I don't know what you're saying.
No, I agree with everything you're saying. Federal law should be instated because obviously state law is just weird. What everybody's doing their own thing and it's just weird. It's no
Well,
uniformity.
when
But
you have when you have, excuse me.
do you agree
Go.
with shooting up stations? Do you agree with that?
Why would I? Why do I want to even go there to that conversation? I don't understand the conversation.
Do you
What's
agree?
the
Do you
point?
agree that an addict should have a safe place to use their drug? You agree with these people? I don't.
Well, I think in the earlier point I made was that hospitals should be the only source or something related to the hospital control for drugs and for people who are addicted. To me, it's the addiction is a healthcare issue, pure and simple. They're
And
sick.
this is what these people are doing. These people are ensuring that when they overdose, medical professionals are in the building with them. I
Well,
mean,
that may be an avenue, but I I I think it has to be simplified, and hospitals have to be the major center for it. Whether they have clinics or things tied off of that, fine. But the
deal,
hospital,
deal. All right, deal. Augie, let's say your plan comes in place. The question, the golden question here: where do they get the drugs?
what do you mean where they get the drugs?
Where are they getting the heroin, the crack cocaine,
Where do you
and
think heroin? Where do you think heroin comes from?
the poppy plant?
Oh, poppy. Who grows poppies?
I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm guessing Asia,
How about Afghanistan?
Afghanistan. Okay.
It's one of the biggest things they do.
And
And
and who grows it? The terrorist organizations.
no, regular farmers. Opium
So
war.
American taxpayer money will go to these farmers.
What are you talking about?
Who's
What's
gonna
that about?
who's gonna pay? Who's gonna supply the drugs here? I
No,
mean,
you're
I
not
agree with your idea, but who's gonna supply it? That's the question.
the hospital.
And who pays the hospital? This money does not just come out
The
of
federal
nowhere.
government. What are you talking about? I just said you're not listening to what I. Maybe I should have. I let you tell me everything that you think is happening, and we'll get lost on 5 roadways. All I'm saying, Alex, I'm sorry, is that you make a central place for people to get their addiction taken care of under doctors' care as people who are ill, as people who are sick. If you're
That's
gonna
tax
if, you,
funded.
if you're gonna run all over the place with other ideas, fine, I don't care.
But
But
who
it's
funds
my
it? Who funds it? Who funds it? Where's the money coming from?
who funds medical care now? Ultimately,
I don't know.
your federal government does. Who do you think most doctors follow for their billing? Medicare.
So it's taxpayer money. I mean, we're gonna talk about taxpayer money going to Afghanistan poppy farmers.
Well, if the government has money and it buys a source called poppy to make heroin, I suppose that's what that is. I don't know what is there some that sounds sensational, I guess, but what's your point?
My point is, I hope we don't have the same problem like we did with the Contras.
Well, what Alex, if you want to tell me what problem you're referring to, you talking about Iran Contra?
I'm talking about Ronald Reagan buying drugs, helping buy drugs, helping support the drug system. I mean, he's the biggest contradictive person in the world. He buys drugs, he helps it come to America, and then him and his wife go on TV and say, "Just say no." It's a
Well,
joke.
that's an interesting. I'm not. I interviewed Ollie North, by the way, on radio. I don't know if you knew that or not.
You told
And
me many times, and I respect that to the max.
well, I don't know I told you even once, but I did, and he said it was the best interview he ever had because I knew about Iran, what he was doing. Whether it was a good interview or wasn't a good interview or any of the rest, the point is that he really illustrated the problems we have. The government gets involved in the chicanery, and the people all around go nuts to make money. And a lot of people survived um, the prosecution because George Bush Sr. all gave them pardons, gave every one of them pardons. And essentially, and then Ollie North lied to Congress. And in order to keep telling what he knew, he got immunity from the FBI to tell what he knew and to keep on talking. And he now works for Fox News. But the drug wars itself needs to be simply mandated. FDR did this. He just simply made an executive order and he demanded Congress come forward with the legislation and the various details. All I'm saying is stop putting people in prison for drug related offenses and save the country $100 billion a year just in the incarceration part of it. So when it comes to spending money to take care of people and heal them and so forth and treat it as a medical issue, that's a far better way of spending money than whether you buy pot or poppies from wherever and then refine it into heroin or codeine or whatever things are involved. That hospitals, when you get morphine, what do you think morphine is?
No, unfortunately, Augie, that's unfortunately the dark, cold truth about the world. I mean, it's just sad. I mean, this is the way it is.
What's so sad? What are you talking about? What's sad?
That the sad is doctors prescribe oxycodone, sorry, and oxycodone, but oxycontin. I mean, I watch oxycontin. I have 5 friends, right? Now I have no more friends because all 5 are addicted to oxycontin, and guess what? They're 17 years old. I mean, this is crazy. Like I'm now sitting in my room alone playing video games.
All your friends.
I said no because and it's a true story. I have friends' parents addicted to Oxycontin. And they have nothing.
Well, we can go down if you want to. We can go down the consequences of all kinds of things, right?
But this is doctors prescribing it. This is the dark side of what you're talking about.
Well, when you make drugs illegal, what do you think happens? You corrupt everybody around the drug, including doctors.
And but Augie, what I'm saying here, even the legal drugs are just as bad, and the doctors are ones dishing them out, and that's why they're making morphine. That's why that's why they're buying the stuff from Afghanistan. I mean, wherever they're buying it from. I mean, that's the dark side.
Alex, you're in the wrong pathway. You're down a rat hole here, or a rabbit hole. That's
no,
all. That's no,
sad.
no. That's no. I was in the hospital. I had to have morphine. I had surgery. When you get to have surgery, you've got to have relief from the pain of the surgery, and you just no way around it. And the typical drug you get is morphine. That's
Johnson
normal.
and Johnson sued for the opioid epidemic in America. I'm gonna get it. That's what I'm talking about. The opioid epidemic.
Well, you may be talking about we can talk about all variety of abuses of ordinary pharmaceuticals and all of that. Once the drug laws make drugs legal and people want to die from the use of the drugs and want to go to illegal sources for it, have at it.
No, Johnson and Johnson. They want to create OxyContin and run it to the whole world. And guess what? Every state sued them for pebbles compared to the damage. And guess what? I'm one of the victims because guess what? I went to high school and basically eight out of 10 people in my class became opioid addicts. I'm one of the 2 out of 10 that have not. And this is Florida because Florida did the worst.
Alex, congratulations. Let me make a bigger one for you, okay? When I see people smoking cigarettes, and they still do, I will often say to people, so you're into slow suicide. 3 of my best friends all died from cigarettes. at 50. Now you're 30, what, 32, 33?
I'm about to be 33 in 4 or 5 days. My sister got breast cancer from cigarettes. Her doctor said it is from the cigarette you smoke.
I think that's
Facts.
probably so. But
Facts. And
so now, when you make all the drugs legal, then the things like cigarettes and alcohol that is normally and alcoholism and those things become issues, but much smaller issues. You reduce the major things and you can start to control things. We're out of control in a whole variety of ways because of illegal charging of people for drug use and drug addiction. So, all those side issues or subsidiary issues are problematic, but you can't get to the problem unless you start with making drugs legal and available in legitimate places called hospitals or hospital clinics, and among professionals who are there to bed you if you have to have an overnight for your addiction, to keep you going, keep your job, and you don't have to buy it on the street. If you're a woman, you don't have to sell your ass for prostitution, or you don't have to be traded as a child for drugs. All this kind of thing can be diminished heavily, seriously, if we make the drugs legal and stop making rich people. And the other thing it would do, a lot of the people coming across the border are running from drug gangs in Central and South America because of the United States buying of all the drugs that they sell. They're raiding pot fields clear into Northern California from Mexico down back into Mexico to process this stuff. I mean, this drug war is wild. When they made alcohol legal, then the alcohol had to be processed legally, or it couldn't be sold. You could still sell it. You could buy a beer, you could buy a shot, you could buy this, that, and the other thing in a bar, but you couldn't go out and make your own alcohol without breaking the law. And they called them the revenuers. They went into the South Hills of Kentucky and what have you, and break up these stills. And this became another avenue of criminality. But the overall problem, people like one of the things that brought an end to this drug war was the St. Valentine's Massacre. You know what that was about? Alex, you there? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I thought my mic was on. Yeah, I definitely seen it. It was definitely great. I mean, the movie's about it and all that stuff.
You know what the Valentine's Massacre was about?
Prohibition. But I don't know personally. I can't tell you, but I was taught
Well,
about
that's
it.
okay, Alex. It's okay. It was
That's what
really
you're here.
about how did they massacre these people?
They lined them up and machine gunned them down.
That's the word, the machine gun. And that became the advertisement, the machine gun. So what they do about the machine gun? They made it illegal.
It's wrong.
Pardon me?
That's wrong. They should have never did that.
Oh, really? Why is that, Alex? That's interesting. Why do you say that?
Now the government's 10 times more powerful.
Uh, what are you talking about?
I don't want to change the subject here.
Oh,
I
but
mean,
you really surprised me with that comment. So you want people to be able to run around with machine guns?
no, they already do. We have bump stocks. I mean, I know someone has a bump stock, and it's incredible. You can shoot just like that. I mean, there's no. I mean, the America has so
What you're
much here.
saying? So what you're saying? Let me see if I get this straight. It's really interesting what you're saying. I believe anybody can have any weapon they want to shoot, right?
Okay, let's talk. Okay, we're on
Now wait a
YouTube.
minute.
We're
I
gonna
answer
incriminate
my.
each other. I don't know anybody who has bump stocks or any machine guns or anything.
I don't care who you know
But,
or don't know, Alex. I'm
but
asking a
I don't want to
question.
incriminate myself because I mean we all have friends. We all have friends with a lot of toys. I mean, you got money, you got toys.
Alex, I'm asking a question. You're not answering the question I'm asking. What's my question? Did you hear it?
Please ask. I did not hear it. I apologize.
Pardon?
I did not hear it. I apologize.
Because you were too ready to answer with something that you thought you knew the answer to. That's why you did that. It's all right. People do that, and you're doing that. So what is the motive for people to have, if any gun is available, any gun is usable, any gun can be used for anything because of the Second Amendment? Is that what you're saying, Alex? Is that what you're saying? Is your
No.
phone off right now,
No.
Alex?
No, I'm not saying that.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it's an American right to be able to
What do you mean?
defend themselves from any
Slow.
threat possible.
Alex, don't make a speech. You said it's an American right. Stop there. Why?
To defend themselves from any threat possible.
So any gun that American wants to have should be able to have, correct?
According to Alex Solis, yes.
So, Alex, if I gave you a rocket launcher, that's a weapon. Is that
Why
okay?
would you give me that?
Pardon?
Why would you give me that?
Well, I'm just going on what you said. Or do you know what you said?
So it's a birthday present. Augie gives Alex
No, Alex, you're not.
Because-
No, you're bouncing around again. You're not answering the question I asked. You want Alex's answer to put out there. If I give you a weapon, any weapon I want to give you, you're free to use, including a machine gun.
okay? Finish the question. You give me a machine gun. You didn't answer a question. What's the
Well,
question?
I asked you the question, but you didn't hear it.
Maybe the phone glitched. I apologize.
Well,
didn't hear nothing.
you do, but you have a habit of doing that. So let's just go with answer the question I asked. Any weapon I want you, if I choose to give you any weapon, you should be able to use it at any age.
I should be able to use it against people. I mean, let's clarify. I mean,
Alex,
yes.
Answer
Yes, you should be able to use it. Yes.
No,
yes.
don't cherry pick.
At any age, you should be able to use any weapon in America. I mean, 5 years old. If the robbers come in your house and your dad throws you that gun and says, "Hey, man, please help me, son." You help your damn dad. I hope you do. I hope you don't say, "Hey, I'm not 18. I can't do it, Dad. I'm gonna watch you die." I mean, at any age, you should be able to defend
You know what it is to run and hide, Alex. When a question comes to you and you don't know the answer, you run and hide. That's what you're doing.
That's impossible. I gave you an answer with
You
an
didn't give me
explanation.
no, you didn't. No, you did not.
I said yes.
No, you did not. You think you did because you threw words at me? It's not answers. You throw
Is it
words
not a
out.
yes/no question?
The point is, Alex, I said to you, any weapon's good enough. You can use it because I give it to you because it's American. What did you call it? American what?
It's an American right to defend yourself
An
with a weapon.
American right. What is an American right?
An American right is saying that I am allowed to defend myself because the laws in this country permit that. It's my right. When the laws change, obviously the rights will be gone. And I believe that
Wait, whoa. You have a real bad habit. You make one flat statement, then you run to another one. All rights will be gone if you lose the right to own any gun you want to have. Is that the idea? All rights will be gone if I don't have any gun that I want to have. Correct?
No, that's not the idea. Because obviously,
what's the idea?
Now
What is the idea?
Place. The idea is when I lose my right to bear arms, the government will take over. That is the idea.
Oh, okay. So you should be able to drive your car without a seatbelt.
No, we're talking about guns here.
No, we're talking about rights, Alex. We're talking about rights. You brought up rights. Let's stay with the argument. You brought up rights. Right is
I promise you one thing. When when the guns are banned, that's when America will be in a really bad state.
Why do you jump from an overall statement that says, if I lose my rights if I don't have a gun to use? Right? That's what you said.
1772, 1776. Constitution was created.
The Second Amendment was part of the Bill of Rights. It was not in the Constitution. Guns. It was not in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights. Anyway, and the Bill of Rights made you a part of a militia to have a gun, approved by the federal government. Approved by the federal government. That's really the full meaning of the Second Amendment. But aside from arguing that or not arguing that, the point is.
Good. What's the point? I'd love to hear it, Augie.
The point is, I asked the question that are you saying I can give anyone a gun of any kind because that's their right to have guns. And if I choose to give somebody that at any age, under any circumstance, no limits, that's okay.
No, it's not okay.
Why not?
That's insanity.
Why?
That's laws. There has to be rules.
You, Alex, you have a terrible habit. You say state that's insanity. Why?
There has to be laws and rules to keep
why?
safe
So
place.
wait a minute. Okay. Good. So now you believe in laws and rules.
Of course, I would never not believe it.
Which one do you cherry pick for?
If I trust my okay, good.
There's already a rule against submachine guns. Why did they make that rule?
Because somebody made that rule. They felt strongly against.
Why did they make that rule?
Not sure. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know. It got advertised, and it was bloody, and it was awful, and it was new to people. They saw that the mobs were running around machine gunning restaurants and killing people and gangs all over the place. And the people went up to their eyeballs and said, no more of this. They made a federal law banning the machine gun. And we let people stand in Vegas and machine gun 600 people and kill 69 of them, and there's nothing about it.
Islamic, and it's ridiculous.
Well, Alex,
that pissed me off.
What's that?
He did that in the name of Islam, and that pissed me off. And that's another show. I mean, you made a great show.
No, I'm not going to make 50. Alex, I am not going to do 50 shows on this because I'm not going to run from one rabbit hole gets nowhere. There's a fundamental argument here. Either you have control of your cars to drive or the weapons you have, or you have no control. That's an either or. You either have drugs free for everybody to deal with as they choose, or you don't have freedom to do that. And when we're in that either or kind of argument, you got to settle on what is humanly reasonable versus
which is where I'm gonna just come with a statement. You might not like it. It's fine. But I sleep better at night with my neighbor having a submachine gun or a bump stock than my neighbor without it. And that's how that's how safe America is. My brother neighbor will never ever put me in harm. I mean, and every day America passes, it proves it. And this is not me saying it. This is obviously
excuse me. I heard what you said. I respected that you said something, and I'm asking you about it in one particular way. So you feel more safe because you'd rather have police in terms of friends around you than police around you, right? I'm waiting for the answer to the question I asked.
One more time. Wait, say the one question one more time. So I understand it fully, please.
You'd rather have people around you with weapons that they choose to have, whatever they are, however good they are at using those weapons, to do what they choose to do with those weapons, than to trust the police to take care of your neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay.
And I hope to God my neighbor's good at what they do with those weapons.
What do you mean wait a minute. What do you mean? Slow down, Alex. You just said something. You hope to God that they're good at what they do?
Yes.
What's that mean?
That means that if the time comes where the Nazis knock on our door and they say, "Hey, look, we're doing mandates. We're going to take your rights away." And guess what? The government has turned bad. I hope they're ready, because I'm not ready. I have not practiced. I'm too scared to use a gun. But I hope my neighbors will be ready and help me and
So
help
you
my
got
family defend us.
Here's Alex Solis, brave, opinionated person, stating he really wants to be surrounded by people with effectively machine guns who may or may not know how to use them. We're
No,
never in the.
they know how to use them. I hope they know how to use them. I hope they're
Oh, no,
good
no,
at
no, no, no. You don't. You said you hope. That means you don't know. That's what that means. When you say I
Yeah,
hope they know how to use them, that means you don't know if they do or not.
we're not
That's
talking about Kyle Rittenhouse here. We're talking about neighbors that
I'm
defend.
talking,
We're talking about
Alex.
brotherly
No, I'm
love.
not. Alex, you're not listening. I'm not talking about a person or an individual situation. In general, I'm talking in principle. This is a discussion in principle. Either the people are competent to use the weapons or they're not. And a lot of the cops now are being trained differently. For example,
They're
the cops
killers.
are now being trained to shoot to incapacitate, not to kill. There's a
What does
movement
that
that's,
mean? What does that mean?
well, you don't aim for the head and you don't aim for the heart. You aim for the feet or the knees or whatever. You just
That's scary.
incapacitate people.
It
That's
gives
what
me
that
the
means.
chills just thinking that. It gives me
I
the
think,
chills just thinking.
Alex, we're going to end this conversation pretty quickly because I'm not hearing what you're saying, and I ask a question and you go wandering off in five directions. And
That's fine. Be a
I
minority.
asked you what you
Be a
said.
minority. Yeah.
What are you saying?
Be a minority. You said the cops are trained now to shoot for the ankles. So
No,
God forbid
what you
traffic
see
stop.
again, you didn't listen to what I said. I did not say that. I said there are police forces that are now starting to train to shoot, not to kill. So you want the cops all to shoot to kill, right? Is that it? That's what they've been doing. So that's not new.
They shouldn't be trained to shoot at all. The ankles are not. You want to shoot somebody, shoot a beanbag gun, and it knocks them down. I watched it in New York City. The beanbag guns. That was definitely successful.
Well,
Uh,
Alex, all we're doing here, you and I right now, we're in an area of speculation. The only thing that's not speculation, maybe this and maybe that and maybe the other thing, is that if the drugs become legal, the people don't have to whore themselves to buy the drugs. They don't go bankrupt to buy the drugs. They get the drugs free. That's the issue. They don't go to jail, and the jails aren't used to house everybody under the sun. And the cost of the government doing the taking care of people goes way, way down. And we can tear down some of the jails in the process.
no,
That's what
no,
happens.
we will.
So
We
when
will.
drugs
And
are
yeah,
legal, that's what you end up with. Otherwise, we go to this argumentative madness. So, Alex, I'm going to end my part in this show. We can talk off.
can I say one last?
On
I'm going to say one last thing before you want to end the show. Say one last thing. I think at the end of the day, I seen personally maybe 9 out of 10 people in a jail pod, had a drug problem. And if there's another way to help these people, it's definitely worth it, and they won't be going back and forth, and they won't become part of a system that will not help them. And I mean, I think that's the truth.
Well,
I think
thank
we
you for
both.
that, Alex, because that's an endorsement of the proposal. So we're kind of somewhat on board there. So there you have it. So you just, I'll talk to you next time. Thank you much. And
Thank you for having me on the show.
if those out you could tolerate this conversation, tell us what you like and what you dislike. But in principle, get rid of drugs, empty the prisons, and let people decide their life a little differently with full free health care, addiction or whatever. See you next time at the cutting edge.